Japji Sahib Alikar, Tu Sada Salamat Nirankar. Satnam, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you're experiencing. Let's tune in. Chant Ong Namo Gurudev Namo and Ad Guru Namo. Please inhale. Exhale. Inhale deeply. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Adhikure Namah, Jugadhikure Namah, Satgure Namah, Sri Gurudeve Namah. Adhikure Namah, Jugadhikure Namah, Satgure Namah, Sri Gurudeve Namah. Adhikure Namah, Jugadhikure Namah, Satgure Namah, Sri Gurudeve Namah. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Satnam, and welcome to everyone here. My name is Kirtan Singh Khalsa. I'm really happy and excited and grateful to be here this morning here in Española, New Mexico. So I want to welcome everybody and we'll just dive right in. Please feel free to show your video if you like. It's okay with me, and if you like, and if not, that's okay too, of course. We're going to go on a little bit of a journey today with Guru Nanak Dev Ji and the 19th Pauree of Japji Sahib. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Kirtan Singh, and I was introduced to Sikh Dharma in 1977 and started to practice Kundalini Yoga and started a morning sadhana in the fall of 1977. And during the sadhana, I fell in love with Japji Sahib, especially the early morning reading, 4 a.m. and reading along in English. I really loved doing that, and I still love doing it. So whatever language you may be speaking, if you're able anytime to read in your original language that you're most familiar with, that's really great, because it helps you get closer in a short and quick way. So there's a lot of advantages. Of course, it's a wonderful thing to learn Gurmukhi, and I strongly encourage everybody to do so. And part of the purpose of this class and workshop here today is to help you understand and go into some of the deeper meaning of Japji Sahib and the 19th Pauree of Guru Nanak's composition. I'll also mention that it's a bit of a journey, so we'll leave that open for our discoveries as we go forward. I was inspired by Sri Singh Sahib Ji to delve into the meanings contained in Gurbani, and at one point in Los Angeles, he put out a notice that anybody from all over the country and the world, I guess for that matter, could. He wanted to take invited everybody to write an essay on the 19th Pauree, and it was a kind of competition. And so The essay that I wrote was published in the Beads of Truth. I'm not sure which edition that is, but it's in there somewhere. I didn't get to look that up and reference it before this class. And just want to say that I did a lot what that exercise provided for me, and I encourage everyone to take an opportunity to really delve into the deeper meanings of any piece of Gurbani, any words and writings of the Guru, and to explore both the original definition and meanings of the words, as well as just to go deep within yourself with respect to what those words mean, and really, most importantly, what they mean to you and how they relate to your life, which is what we're talking about here today on the subject of Veechar. So, and I'll also delve into, towards the end, a little bit about Vak Siddhi, which is one of the yogic siddhic qualities, which has to do with what we say and the effects and how we say what we say and its impact. So again, welcome. And if you have questions at any point, please feel free to put those questions in the chat. I'm at this point inclined to just go ahead and take questions, do that towards the end of the workshop. And, but if something, I may keep an eye on it, and we'll see, I may choose to speak to those during the program as well. So feel free to put your questions in the chat at any time. So just a quick introduction. Again, we're going to be talking about the word Veechar and some of its meanings and translations, and what that means with respect to this deep dive into Gurbani. And also, let me share with you that the word Veechar, which in Gurmukhi is most commonly spelled with a V, a Vava, you can also have the equivalent spelling of a B as Baba. So it can either be Veechar or Beechard. And it's both a verb and a noun. And as a verb, Veechard means to ponder and to reflect on and to consider deeply and to contemplate. So again, going back to what I was sharing with you earlier, this is an exercise, it's very personal in terms of reflecting on what the meaning of Gurbani is to you, and to ponder on that meaning, and how you can use that reference to affect change in yourself and your environment, and for that matter, in the world. It's also a noun, and it means it can be translated as thought or deep thought, consideration or reflection or contemplation. So all of those are references to the specific noun of Veechar. And it's also used when you put the sound ee or at the end e, Vichari, it's the person who reflects or considers deeply, and who's a thinker, a deep thinker, and not a thinker in the sense of an intellectual thinker, but thinking in the context of, again, reflecting in contemplation in terms of the meaning of life and the meaning of our relationship with our soul and our soul identity. There are many other translations that can be referenced, but they're all fairly similar with respect to understanding, deep thought, consideration, reflection. And it's one of the very commonly used words in Sri Guru Granth Sahib, both in the context of it being a verb and a noun. Just in Japji Sahib alone, there are 16 references and usages of the word Veechar. If you're familiar with the Shabad Dan Dan Ramdas Guru, there's the closing lines, Guru Amara tu Vicharya. And in that context, what Guru Ram Das Ji is saying there is that Guru Amar Das has completely understood and conceived of and absorbs the essence of the Guru Nanak and Guru Angad Dev before him. So it says, Nanak tu lahena tu hai. Nanak, you are Nanak, you are Angad. Guru Amara tu Vicharya. Guru Amara himself has reflected on, understood you, and in that context, it really means that he's totally become you and owned you. So Veechar is also a way of imbibing and a way of being in the presence and in the likeness and in the reflection of, not just one who reflects, but in the reflection of the Guru and the reflection of the Guru's words. So I hope that's helpful in understanding some of the context of Veechar. As I already said, there's many references in Gurbani, and 16 of those in Japji Sahib, one of them specifically in the 19th Pauree, which we'll get into. And one of the aspects of Japji Sahib, and that's often repeated in Gurbani, is the concept of dhyan, which is having a constant conversation with yourself that is constantly speaking of, reflecting upon, and meditating and remembering God. It's really a very simple thing, and yet the most difficult thing for us all to do. The mind needs to remember, and it's that remembrance, that constant remembrance, which is dhyan. And this is a self-knowledge that is arrived at through the constant reflection of and remembrance of, in all aspects of our identity, of the presence of God within our souls and within our being, and our presence within that being of God, the God Akal Purakh, the undying presence in all. So being in a state of vichar, that deep reflection, is being in a state of constantly remembering and reflecting upon and imbibing the essence of the meaning of Gurbani and what it's intended to convey. And of course, there's surface meanings in anything that we listen to. It's just a literal translation of the words. And then again, there's the living meanings, what specifically you take from that. And so that's why we refer to this practice as a dharma, because it's Sikh dharma. It's the dharma, the pathway of the Sikh. It's the student is the Sikh. Sikh literally means student. And we are studying and we're practicing being in that consciousness of a living dharma, a living pathway, a living experience and existence of what it means to be a Sikh, what it means to be in the consciousness of and representing the presence of the Guru. So these are all these concepts are tied together and have meaning as you bring the meaning to it. And it's a living dharma. So however you bring this presence of the Guru into your life, into the world, into what you speak and do and how you act and perceive, then that's the way in which the Guru acts through you, and the way in which this dharma is a living dharma, and the way it lives through you. So you are the Guru and the Guru is you. And that is the experience that you arrive at through this Veechar, this deep, deep, deep reflection of what it is that the Guru's words are saying. And this can have a profound change in our lives. It can change us at a cellular level, and it has the effect of literally, as I mentioned earlier, you can change the world through this. And that's where the aspect of Vox City comes in, because your words do create your reality, and they create the reality that we all live in. And how far can you go is a question we can ask ourselves. Well, you can go as far and as deep as you can, and it can ultimately lead to a total merger with the infinite. There's no limit to this. So that's one of the beauties of it, is that you have a direct connection to the infinite here through these words of the Guru. And they are maximal. There is nothing short, nothing absent, nothing lacking within them. And if you are able to own these words and to identify with them 100%, then they will take you to God consciousness, and you will experience liberation and realization, and that will all happen while you are here in this body. So with that, let me just begin by going into these into the 19th Pauree specifically. There are the way I look at it, there's 3 different sections to this Pauree, and please know that this Pauree is preceded by the 17th and 18th Pauree, which both end with the same verses, well, almost the same, because the 18th is slightly different, with the same verse at the end, Kudrat Kavan Kaha Veechar, Variana Java Ekavar Choturpave Saibalikar Dusda Slamat Nirankar. The 17th and 19th Pauree end with that. And then the 18th Pauree, Nanak Nich Kahe Veechar, there's a slightly variation that Guru Nanak puts on that Pauree. And the 17th Pauree is an explanation, as Sri Singh Sahib Ji also described, of the positive mind. It describes everything that is positive and all the positive aspects of God in creation. And then the 18th Pauree is all of the negativity, all the negative, less attractive aspects of God, even, to the people who are murderers, etc. And Nanak describes himself as being associated with those in the context of we all have these qualities within our own selves. And then we come to the 19th Pauree, which has, as I'm describing here, 3 different sections to it. So it starts out, as the 2 previous Paurees do, with the word asank being repeated multiple times. And so in the 17th Pauree, we start out with asanka jap, asanka bhau, countless are the meditations, countless the loves, et cetera, et cetera. And in the 18th Pauree, asanka muraka, asanka gord, countless are the thieves and the miscreants of creation, et cetera. And then here in the 19th Pauree, Guru Nanak Dev Ji starts out with asanka tav. Now, it's really interesting to consider, why are we talking about this word countless? And I want to just encourage everyone to use your imagination as a means of expanding your consciousness mentally. There was once a lecture that Sri Singh Sabji gave where he said, just imagine yourself as the greatest yogi on the planet. And it was part of a several part meditation. And that he described how important it was to use the imagination in many lectures. And really, if you listen to Guru Nanak, you'll get the same message. Our minds are a storehouse of infinity, literally. And so your mind has the capacity to take you to infinity within a split second. And so if I were to imagine myself, and this is one of the thoughts I have, as being someone who lived on this planet long before society existed in the way we know it today, many centuries ahead of our current technology, and you're a human being sitting on the planet and you're looking around, and maybe one day you are sitting there saying, geez, I wonder how many things there are here on this, on this earth, or, and you start counting. I count a bird, I count a tree, I count the flower. So you start counting how many things are there. And then you realize, wow, the more of these I count, the more there are. It keeps on going. A person would probably count the whole day and still not end up having counted everything, because there's the leaf, there's the bumblebee, there's the ant, and then just when you think you've counted them all, there's another. So Guru Nanak he's mesmerizing his own self, and talking about these countless things that there are by actually counting them. So it's interesting to count because it invariably brings you to infinity. And that's the beauty of counting. So we start out with a Sankanav. There's countless names. And so each one of those things that you're looking around at, each one of the actions, each one of the experiences that we have, there are just countless of these names, of these identities. Literally means name. And we can't possibly count them all. It is impossible. But they're all names, they all have identities, they all have references that we as humans have assigned to them and that they have of their own. And then there are countless places, a sankatav. So not only are we talking about objects, but we're talking about environments. So if you even move a foot, a yard, even an inch, you're in a different place. You're in a different reality. And so there are countless of these places where time and space exist, and where we come together and where we separate, whichever the case may be. But there are countless of these places. Just think of it. Every human being has their own place. And within the human being, they have countless places within themselves. And then within them are all the things that are associated with the people and the places that they know. And then there's all the people and places that they don't know. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and it's also awesome and incredible just to take your mind there and to start just to think of that one thing, countless names. So you're thinking of the identifications of God and this creation and all that exists. And it's again, mind-boggling and mind-blowing to just consider that. And then to think of all the places. And then Guru Nanak goes to this incredible place, which is why in the description I said he takes us to the universe and beyond. Agam agam asank lo. And I love this line. Agam agam, love those words. It's like, it's a sound, actually, is what it is. It's a sound current, agam agam, and it's a sound of a reverberation, and it's remote, and it's all of the vibrations that are coming from as far away in the universe as anyone could possibly perceive or imagine or conceive. And here comes the sun. So I'm going to shade it a little bit here so I'm not blinded. So agam agam is with the greatest extent of remoteness. And then he says, agam agam asank lo. So he's saying that remoteness is countless, as is Loa. And Loa can be defined as worlds and peoples. So it's not just places, but it's also names and identities, and whatever you want to imagine that to be. But I take it literally as being peoples. There are, just know that the U.S. just released its all of its top secret reports on UFOs and alien creatures and all of that they've been studying for decades. And now there's a lot more scientific understanding and proof of the possibility, not only the possibility, but actual evidence of UFOs and what have you. I'm not making any statement about that directly, but is it possible that we live in a universe where there are other souls and other identities? Well, if we look at our own planet, what does a zebra know about us? What does a porcupine, know of our existence? Well, just flip the tables there and think of it in another way. So it's a beautiful concept that Guru Nanak is giving us, agam asankalo. So just there's an infinite remoteness, an infinite number and breadth of this universe, agam asankalo, and all that it contains, and all the identities it contains, going back to asankanav, asankatav. And then we come to asank kehe sirbhardahoy. So this is the end of this first section, and of all the two previous Paurees, where Guru Nanak is going on about the countlessness and the description of these countless aspects of creation. And he ends by saying, asank kehe sirbhardahoy. So asank kehe is saying countless, even trying to count the counts, or even saying it's countless. Sir literally means the head. Bard is a reference in Gurbani that has to do with, bard is literally a bar, and it's a bar that was used for weight. It's a measure of weight. And it's also a reference that's used to describe a heaviness that's unsurmountable, that's a heaviness that's incomparable. And so it says sir bhardahoy, and there's such a great weight that comes from this, and there's not a positive or negative to it. It's just you can't possibly get beyond this description of countless. It brings a load on you that's both liberating, and if you think you can accomplish it, you'll exhaust yourself literally and exhaust your life doing so. So he ends, after all these two previous Paurees, he gets to this point where he says, asank kehe sir bhardahoy. You can say this countless thing, and it's just going to bring this unbelievable weight upon you, which is the weight of the universe. And it's both a heaviness, and if you think of it in the context of liberation, it's liberating because you're released from the weight of it. You can't possibly count it. You can't overcome it. You can't supersede it. And so it's a wonderful, exhilarating relaxation to experience that you can't possibly figure it out. There's no way out. And that's just wonderful and exciting. And then Guru Nanak takes us to this next place where he describes Akhri Naam. Akhri. Now again, Akhri is actually it's not only a word that means word, it's the sound current of the word that means word. Okay, and why is it Akhri? Well, because it's a sound. It's not just a word. Akriti is a sound current. So what is that sound current? Well, he starts out by saying Akriti Nam. So it can be word or words, and I'll use that interchangeably here. But Akriti, and literally it means words in this case, Nam. So words are names, literally in the simplest of sense. So words name things, okay? But then again, if we think about this in terms of a universal and an infinite reference, we see that words are this vibration where there's no separation between the word and what it identifies. So words are nouns, words are names, and they identify these countless infinite objects and experiences in the universe. And then Guru Nanak says, Akriti Salah. So, and this is a word that comes from the Arabic in Persian. Salah is praise. It's a salam alaikum. So it's the same, the word is the same derivation. And it's interesting to note that in Gurbani, we have a complex compilation of languages and roots of languages here that the gurus are immersed in both physically and culturally, and that are part of Gurbani. So Akriti Salah, words are all we can say to express this ecstasy of praise and an experience that we have of God and the sense of being in our lives that is infinite. And then Guru Nanak says, Akriti, these words, this vibration is Gyan, which is wisdom, knowledge, Gita, which is songs, Gun Ga, and Gun is virtue, and Ga is like a depth, a measurement of depth. It's the deepest of depths. So words are wisdom. Words are contained, and they are the composition of the structure of song, and they're the essence of deep and the deepest of virtue. And all of this goes so deep that it can't be measured. So Akriti, Gyan, Geet, Gurnaga. Words are all of these things. And some more, Guru Nanak then goes on to say, Akriti, Likan, Bolan, Ban. Akriti, the words are what we write. It's what's written. In this context, in a physical sense, what's written. Bolan, I'm wording right now. We're doing words, and we're communicating, we're exchanging words, and this is what Bolan is. We're speaking, and we're exchanging consciousness, concepts, ideas, thoughts. It's emotions, it's colors and contexts. It has an indescribable effect on the brain, something that is so advanced we can't describe even in scientific terms today. But we know that what's going on here is something that is magnificent and incredible in this exchange of spoken words. And then Ban. What is Ban? Ban is a kind of in Gurumukhi and Gurbani is, you can think of Banis as the words of the Guru as an instruction. So Ban is instruction. So these words, think of it in a primal sense. Again, I'm using my imagination here, a little bit riffing on my own thoughts. Ban, think of myself as a very primitive human being. And what's the first thing I'm going to communicate? Go, stay, sit, eat, whatever it might be. But Ban is a kind of it's a command, really, if you think about it in that sense. I'm communicating, or you're communicating something to me that is an instruction. It's at the root of every communication. There's an instruction, and this is what Guru Nanak is sharing with us. So every word is an instruction. And fascinatingly, if we think about that, it's both an instruction to the listener as well as an instruction to the speaker. So we'll get into that a little bit more with the reference going to Bak City again. But then here, Guru Nanak ends this section with Akhara Sir Sanjog Vakan. So Akhara is, again, the word or the words. Sir Sanjog. Sir is, let's talk about, Sir again is the head, thinking of the head or it really has to do with, in a sense, the mind, the consciousness of the human being. But Akhara Sir Sanjog Vakan. Sanjog is a union. It's a meeting. It's a chance. There's an element of unpredictability to Sanjog. It has to do with luck and fortune, and again, it's really literally can be translated as destiny in this case. So your good fortune, your good luck, your destiny is on your head with words, and it's vakan means it's described, or it's all told, or it's all experienced. This is often translated that words are the written destiny. It's referred to it on your forehead is a cultural reference here. It is referred to your destiny is already, before you even come into this world, written on your forehead. And this concept is something that's ancient, and it's very prevalent in the context and tradition of Guru Nanak's life and teachings. So we already come into this world with what has been considered a pre-written destiny. And in this case here, if you think about it, that destiny is described, it's written, it's defined somehow. And this is, whereas in the previous note, it said Akri Likin Bolanaban, it was referring to something that's literally written. But here we're talking about a written destiny, something that's not written, but still has this context of writing. How are we writing on we're connecting all of our past, all of our present, and all of our future. That's what this Siras Sanjog Vakan, Akara Siras Sanjog Vakan. These words are what describes what is written all through our past, right now as we're speaking, and all to the future. And then Guru Nanak gets into what I would say his own Veechar here. Think of it this way. Guru Nanak now has summarized not only this Pauree, but the two Paurees before. And now he's starting to reflect on these thoughts that he's already put forward. Jin-e lik-e tis-siranai. So that being, or that source, Jin-e is to say, it's like saying this one and that one, okay? So Jin-e lik-e, that one, or that which causes to be written. Lik-e is a form of the word written. So whatever the source of that cause of being written, which we could say is God, in a simplest of contexts, but it's also us. We have played a part in whatever that writing was. So, but in this case here, we're saying whoever is causing that to be written, Tisa. So Guru Nanak is saying that one has nothing on their head. So there is an existence, there is a presence that does not have this beyond this connection of words that we speak. It doesn't have any destiny. It doesn't have any karma that it's carrying from lifetime to lifetime. It's just purely pure. It's void of any karma, any data, any references or sources. So if you want to think of it in the context of the Godhead, God, who is at some level the source of all of this that we've described up to now, God is not identified, has nothing of a destiny written. He's separate from that. Jine like tisirnai, jiv fudamai, tiv tiv pai. So Guru Nanak's going further and saying, whatever, jiv fudamai, and this also is a word from the Arabic and Persian, fudamai. And Guru Gobind Singh uses this, and it's a command. It's similar to the word we use, hukum. So that one who gives the fudamai, the order, the command, tiv tiv pai, that is what comes to pass. Whatever that order is, that comes to pass. Now, so it's interesting here, are we going to connect the dots? So we started out talking about words and the power of words and the impact of words and the whole understanding, in essence, of words as a vibration and a sound current. Well, then we're going to Guru Nanak saying, Jine like tisirnai, that one who writes this destiny, which he's saying is connected with words and all that's being described, there, that one has no destiny. Jiv fudamai tiv tiv pai, whatever that one orders or commands, that's exactly what's going to happen. We're the puppeteers. That's already played out in this destiny. Jeta, kita, teta, now. Whatever, however, kita is a matter of, jeta means that which, as many as there are. It's really a description of number. Jeta, as many as the doings are, whatever's been done. Kita is the word of action, done, the verb to do or to make, or it refers to action. And it also refers to actions past and future and present. So jeta, kita, and I like to think of it as kita as the small, even the smallest of action, as many as their actions are that exist in the universe. Teta, now. That's how many names are to you. That's how many names you have. So I could go on all day, God, Guru Nanak is saying, describing you, counting the countless virtues and aspects and descriptions of you. And what it comes down to is that you are so supreme that you exist in even the smallest of every action that exists, that takes place, that ever has or ever will be. Jeta, kita, teta, now. And then this next line, these two lines combined are I would have to say here, they're my favorite lines in Gurbani. Vin nave nahi kotao. Without your name, without this name, which runs through all these names, all these identities, all these words, without that, there isn't even a place that exists. Nahi kotao, no place exists, nothing. There is no existence without the name, without the identification, without that which we started with, asankanav, which is right, at the beginning of that, this description of words here in this Pauree. So without those countless names, there's just nothing. Nothing exists. And I love this when we think of the words in the Mul Mantra, Karta Purak, God is the doer of everything. This is the description of that, in my view. Jeta kita tetana veninave nahi kotao. As many as the countless infinite doings that there are of God, That's how many of God's names and descriptions there are. And without God, no matter where we would find ourselves, no matter where we could imagine ourselves, no matter where we are internally, externally, close or far, however we want to describe space, no matter where that space is, God is there. There's just no space or no place that God does not exist. And then we go on to further Veechar, where Vinanava Enahikota, and then Guru Nanak ends with the same seal that he ends the previous two Paurees. Kudrat. Kudrat is a word that means power or ability. It literally is God's power, God's omnipotence. It refers to the universe and creation, and it's also has an Arabic and Persian derivation, kudrat. So it comes from Arabic, and again it means this power, this God's power, this omnipotence. Coven is a word that can mean who or which. It's a question. God, Guru Nanak's asking this question. Well, what is that power? Who is it that's behind this amazing, indescribable omnipotence, which is all pervasive beyond time and space and beyond anything I could count or describe or explain? And then another question Guru Nanak brings in the same sentence, kaha, which is like a question meaning where or how or wherefore or whenceforth. Where does this come from? How could it be? So he's asking not only who is this, but where is it coming from? Where did it, how does it derive? And then here's the word Veechar. How can I even consider this? And this is where the essence of this word Veechar comes in. How can I completely conceive of it? That's in this essence, in this context, Veechar is how can I conceptualize, how can I know this and know it completely and hold it and own it? That's Veechar. How can I know? How can I experience? How can I know it to such an extent that I have and I hold this experience, and then I'm able to contain it? That's Veechar. That's the Veechar is something that is transformative. It's chemical. All the chemicals, all the synapses in your brain are firing. And now you're no longer in a state, even Guru Nanak is saying it, he's beyond the state now of exteriorly counting and looking and observing. And he's just got into this point of, oh my God, it's a complete surrender of, I can't count anymore. I can't even conceive it, but I've gone so deep in trying, and so deep that I actually now am that experience of all that I have conceived of this creation to be. And that's Veechar. And Guru Nanak says, Kudrat Kavan Kaha Veechar. The how force, the whence force of this just indescribable power and presence of God is something that how can you conceive? And he asks another question here, and he says, Varya Najava Ekvar. Varya, there's like, it's translated as sacrifice. It's really not, I wouldn't say terrible, but it's a very religious kind of translation to me. It doesn't give me what I want. Varya Vardiya is referring to time. It's referring to a turn of time. And the word Vara in Gurmukhi is especially it relates to being born or to dying. So Guru Nanak is saying, Najava, let's go to that next part too, to put this Vardiya in context. Najava, the word Java comes from the word Jai, and Ja is to go. You'll see the word Ja, it's a verb in Gurbani. It's often used to go or to leave or to depart. It also means to die or to be lost. And Najava gives the sense of impossibility. It's not even possible for me to be lost. It's not even possible, Vardiya Najava. It's not even possible for me to assign a whole life, to come and go, to take the turn of life, even one time. I can't even do that on my own. Vardiya Najava Ekavar. I can't, there's a sense of impossibility here. It's a sense of really, this is complete surrender. Guru Nanak is saying, I could spend my whole life trying to conceive this, trying to reach this state of vichar, this state of complete conceptualization. And I could try, but I can't even dedicate a whole life to this. I would die. I would literally die before I could do that. I couldn't. It's not, I can't, I'm not capable of it, is Guru Nanak is saying. And then he finally gives in completely and he says, Jo tu dapave, oh, whatever you are pleased with, whatever's that, Jo, tu to you, pave, that which is pleasing, that which is acceptable. Sai, that is the very same, that's the very good balikar, that's turned out to be the good. That turns out to be what's excellent. Tu, you, sada, are infinite, always, ever, timeless, permanent. Salamat, again, another Persian word. There's so much of this language conflagration here in Gurbani. There's all the Hindu and the Bhadrasan, but here we got Salamat, which again is that praising. It really means safe and secure. It's tu sada salamat, nirankar, formless. So everything here, you are completely eternal, endless, formless. All is safe and secure, and again, formless. There's just, we're contained in something that's so beyond form we can't even imagine. And I couldn't possibly spend my whole life understanding it. Yeah, it's Arabic, not Persian. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. In my dictionary, it does show that it has there are Persian references to it as well. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. But let me just summarize by saying so I'll take this opportunity to say, I have for years used this reference, which is a Guru Nanak Sikh glossary written by Professor Shackle. It was published by the University of British Columbia Press in 1981. And this reference has become very helpful to me in understanding a little bit about some of these translations of Gurbani that I've shared with you today. And he just goes into Guru Nanak's language here. And that's what I was referring to. He does say there's both an Arabic and a Persian derivation to that word for the commenter. And I don't profess to be an expert or a scholar at any level. So anyway, I just looked online. I mean, back in the day, you were able to buy this, in different bookshops, but now Amazon's got it for like over $100. So, but you might have one in your closet that you haven't looked at for years. And then he also refers to in that book, this, which is far more scholarly than I'll ever get into, but it's called the Comparative Dictionary of Indo-Aryan Languages. So a lot of the roots to the words that we're looking at and listening to and experiencing Gurbani go back to some of there's references to these words in this very thick volume here, which again is in itself was a tremendous scholarly effort that produced that. And it's helpful, I find, to understand some of the contexts of these words if you have the opportunity to do so. But I would say even without that, just finding different translations of the words in whatever language that you're most comfortable with will give you your own sense of understanding and your own experience of what these words mean. So I will say that, let me just talk a little bit more now about Vox Siddhi. So in the ancient yogic traditions, Vox Siddhi is one of these special states of being. It's considered a power, if you will. I don't bring it forward here as a sense of trying to promote anything that's supernatural or that is what the Guru would often refer to as a useless and futile practice. To the contrary here, I believe that this practice of the 19th Pauree does bring us to a deep understanding, and if we really tune into it, an understanding of the power of words. And there was one point in a lecture many years ago where Sri Singh Sabji said, "Your words create your reality." And for some reason, that was mind-blowing for me, because what he said along with that is, it's not your thoughts that create what you think, if you will, but it's your words that create what you are and how you think. And so if you can change your words, you can change your life. Every word we speak has meaning. Every word we speak has power. And when we speak consciously, as the word akriti itself describes, we are creating a vibration. Not only does that word have a specific meaning, but there's a tone to it. There's a frequency to that vibration. And if we're using words to express and communicate with another human being's soul, or to express a soul connection, then we'll find that those words have deep value, and they have a special effect and power, if you will. Not power in the sense of controlling, but power in the sense of a magnified effect, of a deep effect. So we think of this siddhi, this Vox Siddhi, is that when we look at the Guru's words are still impacting us today and will do so for generations, many generations to come. It's because these words are spoken at a state of consciousness, at a soul level that is beyond time and space. How can we do that? How can we replicate that? Well, the way that we do that is we put this meaning in everything, in this consciousness in everything that we're saying. So, yeah, someone's putting a quote of the Sri Singh Sabs in the lecture. I'll quote him here. One quote was, "Never use words if you're not going to express your wisdom. This will give you prosperity, beauty, bounty, wisdom, and everything in the world you want. Anybody who practices Vak Gyan," they call it, "the person gets Vak Siddhi. When you utter the word, let it be word of knowledge, then it will be Vak Siddhi. Then whatever you say shall happen." And this is from a July 9th, 1975 lecture of his, where he goes into some explanation about the 19th Pauree as well. And let me add one more note here for you, that after I did this original study back in the 80s on the 19th Pauree, I started to practice reciting the 19th Pauree 11 times a day. And when I did so, I would would do it slowly. It wasn't a matter of rushing through the repetitions. I would, as I went through it, think about every word and its meaning that I had learned and what I was saying. And there's a very inspiring person who some of you may know and some may not. His name is Buckminster Fuller. He's by many considered to be the Leonardo da Vinci of our 20th century. He invented the geodesic dome, and he has countless inventions to his name. He was a naval officer for many years, and in the military, and then became this incredible scientist and philosopher and inventor. And one of the things that he did as a practice is he used to rewrite the Lord's Prayer, that many of those who are Christians in the world know, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And he would rewrite the prayer in his own words every day as a practice. And you can read these, and they're quite exquisite and beautiful and extraordinary. And I like to think of being able to do the same in Gurbani. We can, we'll experience a new depth, a new meaning, a new angle, a new brightness, a new thought that we've never thought before as a result of reciting Gurbani. And when I recited this and was in the practice and am in the practice of doing this on a daily basis, here's what happens to me. I will share with you. As soon as I'm about to, just before I am about to say something that is not at a soul level, or does not, or is negative, or that is not, it is not coming from the state of consciousness that is uplifting, then I will get this queasy feeling. Literally, it's almost a nauseous feeling, but it's more in my aura. It's more in my subtle. I get this feeling of, oh, don't do that, it says to me. Speak not those words. And so I'm not sure if anyone else has had or will have that experience. But I would say that if you want to tune into the impact and the effect that your words have in a deep way, you practice this Pauree 11 times a day. And if you're blessed, you'll have an experience that will allow you to do just that, to understand better, and maybe to the extent of saintlyhood. I mean, we can liberate ourselves through our words, and that's the message that Guru Nanak, in my view, is giving here. Let's speak consciously, and let's speak at a soul level with each person that we relate to. And let's remember that all of our relationships exist at this soul level, and that'll let us then be elevated and liberated as a result of that. And I thought I'd sing May the Long Time Sun. How about that? May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on.
Satnam.